Morning and welcome again. It's time for the dailies. We had to push that now because we have a very interesting note. We were going to have a conversation on Rivers politics, the tension inside of the Fubara impeachment proceeding instance. And we wanted to take a critical look at this. In fact, we have our guests all lined up already. But first, we noted that there was a very interesting trend in the dailies this morning, and we have to bring the dailies just before. In fact, I'm being told that our guests are here already, but one thing that we did note was a string throughout every single daily about the Rivers State instance. You see, Rivers State is once again at the center of a political storm. The State House of Assembly has moved impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, transferring the process to the chief judge. Almost simultaneously, 4 lawmakers who had defected earlier made a dramatic return reversing course. Now, this is not just the legal process, it's a power struggle with implications for governance, party control, and also democratic stability in Rivers State. The speed, the reversals, the alignments, they raise questions about due process and political pressure. So, joining us now is Hilda Dokubo, chairman of the Labour Party in Rivers State. Thank you very much for joining us, Hilda. It's good to see you here. Good to have you on the show here this morning.
Good morning.
Grand. Hilda, I wanted to talk about constitutional process versus political warfare here. We see a situation where there are reversals, there are talks of impeachments, but how constitutional are these processes? When we take a look at Section 188 of the Nigerian Constitution, one has to wonder whether the impeachment process being put forward by the House has followed the rules or even the requirements. What's your take, please?
You see, I have a problem having a conversation on this particular House of Assembly people. And that's because for me, no matter what they say or do, they're not members of that House of Assembly anymore. They already left that House of Assembly. So if the Supreme Court, without having the case before them, had ruled, that already in itself is destroying the Constitution. So there's no way these people, we're still in court, we're in appeal, and we're going to go through the whole 9 miles, all the way to Supreme Court, even if it's on the last day of them being there pretentiously, we will still get the Supreme Court to correct the anomaly. That's what I know. So these people are not constitutional and therefore cannot even do anything constitutional. So they think we're in some banana republic where you can just sleep, wake up, and then just listen to their excuse. It makes no sense, right? Absolutely, that the assembly was not considered, the interest of the assembly. We would like to know what this interest is, right? Because they really do not have any reason this time around. Just like they didn't also have reason the first and the second time. They just threw us into that quagmire of 6 months of nothingness in Rivers State. So it's not constitutional. They are not constitutional. The whole rubbish is a hoax.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if these processes, impeachment specifically, becomes a weapon, what lies for any other safe state governor when impeachment processes are weaponized like this? Are we taking apart democracy? What are the implications on democracy itself, even if Rivers State stands as just one instance? But we know that this affects, and this thread runs through the entire process of politics in Nigeria. What regard for democracy at the end of the day?
You see, this particular administration has oftentimes done things that are not constitutional, and some of us have continued to question the constitutionality of what is happening, and if we have already thrown away the 1999 Constitution as amended, if we have, then we must make it clear to the people, because the people in offices just keeps breaking the rules, and so we don't know what constitution they're operating on. But let's even look at the weaponization of it. If this is allowed to happen in Rivers State, then the other governors should be ready. Because it means that once your House of Assembly members think that they haven't been considered, which I find very insulting anyways, they haven't been considered in anything, like they are more Nigerian than the other citizens of the state, or like what? they haven't been considered, then they can impeach anybody. I think it's an abuse on our democracy. It's an abuse on us as a people, especially of Rivers people. We have had 3 governors before now, and we didn't have all this dramatic. So all these things coming up from everywhere just because of one man just does not make sense. All of it does not make sense, no matter how you choose to look at it. And the fact that people think that, oh, this is politics. This man is strong, that man is weak, and all of that makes a mess. It just even says how ill-informed most of us already are. Because if you're taking sides with the oppressor, then something is wrong with your mental state. So, for me, I think that every governor should watch out, and they should ensure that this does not happen.
Hilda, let's talk about loyalties. 4 governors, or rather 4 lawmakers, made a U-turn. Initially, they proposed that there be dialogue between the governor and the House. Eventually, well, the time elapsed. The governor did not really respond, nor did his deputy. And then they made that U-turn and said, fine, okay, let's go with impeachment. I'm wondering what the implications are here. But most specifically, what's the efforts or non-efforts of the governor to actually engage in dialogue portends for the situation?
Okay, so let me tell you as a writer, because every time I comment on politics, somebody would say, go back to Nollywood, Joe. Politics is not Nollywood. So let me leverage on my Nollywood skills. You see, if you're a good storyteller, you know when a script is weak, when the writer of the script is not part of the production, and the writer is standing outside, not working with the director, but from time to time will throw in a line, create a confusion, and make it look like the director has no idea what they're doing on set, and all of that's exactly what is happening. It is the same script, the same ugly, disorganized, very melodramatic scripts and dialogues, except that every 4 years we get to see new actors playing out roles, right? So for me, what's going on here is whether the 4 of them said, oh, we're out, we're in, it's the same script. It's a script trying to create complications, and then the writer gets confused about the complications that they have thrown in. Then they drop a Deus Ex Machina and say, okay, let some spirit drop from above that has made them change their minds, blah, blah, blah. There is nothing happening. It is the same people. It is the same process. It is the same script. It is the same actors. It's just trying to create diversions that don't exist, and they know it does not exist. So they're just playing with themselves in their House of Assembly. That's what they're doing.
So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying in the case of these House members, these lawmakers. But what about the governor or the deputy and their refusal to engage in dialogue? If this is a Nollywood script, that might sort everything out now, won't it? But they've refused to dialogue. The state is in turmoil. So it's a question to ask these 2 as well, don't you think?
Okay, so let's move this script forward, right?
Yes.
If you and I had a meeting and there was an agreement of what should happen, because they've been shouting agreement is agreement, and we said, okay, bring out your agreement in public. Then we saw Minister Nyesom Wike say, who reached what agreement? Who said one term? Who said impeachment? They're there. You are a news person, so you have all of that. So there must be some kind of agreement, because they didn't just have a conversation with the president. They reached certain agreements. So for me is, if the agreement was for you people to go and talk, have you talked? Are you expecting, even where you are in your office, if you do something or you don't even do something, but the boss in the office is not exactly pleased with what's going on, you go. You don't wait. If you invite him and he's not coming, you go. Have they gone? You can't keep begging people to come. Have they even talked to us, Rivers people, who they walked out on without telling us why they're walking out? Have they talked to us? They haven't. So for me, really, I I don't know what the governor and the deputy are working on, but I think that after what has happened first, second, it becomes too many once. Once too many. The same thing too many. You can't keep asking people you can't keep trying to reach people. Then they evade the whole meeting, then turn around, come to public space and say nothing is happening. It just doesn't make any sense. Because we were here when the governor said, oh, he wants to come and present. A few days after, these people said they were going on leave. Is he going to chase them to where they were going to their leaves for? No. So every time the governor has made an effort to see them, to meet with them, they have introduced a new movement. If they're going for this recession, that store, this trip, what is a man supposed to do? Pursuing them around like a mother pursuing her children? And saying, don't touch, don't touch. Is that what he's supposed to be doing?
Hilda, Hilda, while we're talking about these agreements, or an agreement that was reached when the federal government stepped in informally, do you think that part of that agreement was a defection by the governor? And how does that play now with the defection in place and we're still having squabbles between him and the House? And you also brought in the Wike factor. By the way, that impression of Wike was 8 out of 10. Thank you very much. But how does that play in Wike, the federal government's intrusion, or is it healthy intervention? So what are we looking at here with all these different dynamics? Do you think that the federal government, the presidency should step in again? And would that be healthy or intrusive?
I don't think that the president should step in again. He stepped in once. Once he stepped in, it was more like using a sledgehammer to kill a butterfly. Then he stepped in, which we don't know what it is. They had another meeting, this time informal, and everybody came back and smiled. I tell you the truth, I was happy, but I had my suspicion. I was more like, oh, thank God, finally we can have good governance, right? And I just felt like all the attempts, there was a town hall with News Central, you remember?
Yes.
In Port Harcourt. It felt like all of this, if you put them together, it has worked, and that's why we have peace now. So I was particularly very happy that the governor could move around and say, oh, here's my brother and all of that, right? And they were seen at events, and I thought everybody would step down. But this one propping up now, I don't think the president should meddle in it. He should just leave them alone. And I also do not think that, defecting to another party was part of the agreement. I think it's a case of the governor looking at where he is and all the antagonism that he was facing. Nobody was there for him, to protect him from the bullying and everything that was going on. I think that all he did was try and see if he would find a place where he can stay and, feel like he has a family and all of that. That's my take. I may be wrong. And it's possible that I'm wrong. But I don't think that the governor should, I don't think that Mr. President should step in again.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has done enough. And if these people cannot sit
has he done enough good or has he done enough bad? Did his stepping in help the situation, or did it cause what we now presently are seeing in Rivers State?
I don't know, but I don't know what they decided at that level, and nobody has made it public yet. Mm-hmm. But what I know about is that 6 months of emptiness that Rivers people had to deal with is something that I don't want to have to deal with again. That's the truth, and that's why I'm saying he shouldn't bother. I don't know what their agreements were. If I'm going by what Minister Wike has said, nobody agreed on one term, nobody did this, nobody. It's in your studio and you can watch them again, then it means that that's not part of the agreement. So there must be something that was the agreement, and we don't know what that something is. But I do not think that whatever the agreement was, is why this is happening. I don't think so. I just think that maybe one person just isn't thinking state. You know, for me, the two gentlemen, both Wike and the governor, should put the state first. Rivers State first before everyone's ego. Rivers State first.
Let's talk about that.
Any of all of these things, because at the end of the day, we're the ones suffering, going through all this nonsense.
Let's talk about that, Hilda. Let's talk about governance and the impact on the people, the citizens itself. Now, since after the return to democracy, has anything changed when it comes to governance? And in between that time and now, where we have these impeachment processes starting, has anything changed further, for the good or for worse? My question is actually, how has the process, the impeachment process, affected governance in Rivers State? But I'm being told by the producers that we need to go on a quick break. But have that question in mind. When we get back, that's what you'll be answering. We're going on a quick break now. We'll be back with Hilda, and we'll be talking about the instance in Rivers State as the impeachment processes seem to be continuing and causing, well, more wahala. We'll be right back. Welcome back again, and this morning the papers were rife with plenty of headlines about Rivers State. In fact, the Punch newspaper had its one saying, impeachment, Fubara Rivers lawmakers in showdown, and showdown seems to be exactly what it is. This carries along different papers, different headlines across the dailies this morning. We'll be bringing you those soon. But we still have with us Hilda, who's been speaking with us about the instances inside of Rivers State. And I asked you a question from before. I was worried about governance, about budgeting and service delivery, and what's been happening since after the impeachment process. For a third time, by the way, this impeachment for the same governor, how it's affected the people. And why are the people docile? Are the people docile out of respect for the governor, Fubara, or are they docile because there's no other recourse to take?
The people are not docile, but they're also looking. If you recall, the very last one, the women did not leave the streets until the end of the 6 months. They brought out days that they sat out and made sure that they stood in solidarity with the governor, because this governor is one governor that has done better than 35% female affirmation in his positioning of staff, in the number of women who were at the local government level, the women who were commissioners and all of that. You know, so, but before we even go into appointments, let's even look at what he was doing. My entire life, all I have heard about developing my region is that our region is unbearable, is difficult. The terrain is difficult. Fubara shows up, and the riverine communities are no longer that challenging to develop. So for the first time, I see that it is not my terrain. It is people not willing. You know, when Nyesom Wike was governor, at one time he was doing his bridges in town. People from my region, I'm riverine, kept saying, please, can these things get to the riverine community? Nyesom came in front of people at a function, and he said, thunder fire us for complaining and saying they should develop our area. In fact, he will keep building flyover one, flyover blah, blah, blah. And in fact, if he hurts us that much, it did hurt. So, but Governor Fubara comes and there's development happening. I think that all of this is because the man is ready to work. And you see, when people begin to do things the right way, they show the ineptitude of the previous people, like what's happening with Apia. Oti shows up and we see the ineptitude of the ones before him. And so now people are saying, hey, okay, guys, hold it. Governance needs to work in Rivers State. And before all of this mess started, it was working. with Fubara. He was doing his, I'm not part of his party. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to hear all that plenty statements, right? Because for me, if this was what Wike could give to us, it may just end up like Wike. But he did not. He shows up and begins to act like he has his own mind, like he wants to work for Rivers people. See, my entire life is Rivers first, though. It is my people first.
And has all this stopped?
Any other thing.
Has all this stopped? Hilda, has all this stopped since the impeachment process? Is the impeachment serving as a distraction for his governance efforts?
Yes, it is. It's a full distraction. It is. It's a full distraction. If people are beginning to fear again that perhaps they will pause them one more time and nothing will happen. In all of this, nothing happening. What's happening to our finances? What's happening to our resources? What's happening to our schools? Fubara was already putting schools in place. I wish that these members of the House of whatever they want to call themselves, because I don't like to call them House of Assembly, if they would reason for 1 second, they would know that what they're doing is wrong and out of place completely. If they're waiting for Fubara to come, because that's what we keep hearing on the streets, I can't prove them because nobody has said it in front of me. If they say it in front of me, I will respond to it. It's Fubara must come and kneel down. Fubara must do this. Fubara must do that. When they collected vehicles, all these people, they're just very dramatic. They gave them cars, they gave them 300 million. Nobody heard of it until they said they gave them 100,000. They were not given 100,000. The 100,000 was for civil servants who work there. They should stop creating distractions and be honest with themselves and tell the truth. Did they drop the vehicles? Did they drop the 300 million? Or this their interest that they are talking about is just to make Fubara commit corruption so that on the grounds of corruption they can now do what they want? Like, what exactly do they want? Do they want him to carry River State resources and give to them? It's not his personal estate. It's not his personal resource. The thing belongs to Rivers people. Whatever he's going to use our money to do is to develop River State and not to give to any individual. No. So they're just creating unnecessary distraction. And it would be nice to see them quit if they can. It's just that they are hungry for distractions and all of this. It's insatiable. They need to stop.
Well, Hilda, the past week, many people argued that there is need for conflict resolution at this time and that conflict resolution can only come from the presidency, which is unfortunate because I hear you say that they should not interfere anymore. But even if they did, at what point does that interference begin to impede on processes that are already laid down? When does it become a disturbance itself? Or is it already, or could it be already, or was it the main disturbance in the first place?
I had said once that forgiveness without repentance is a waste of time, right? If there was penitence and people had come to say, our president, we need your help because the two of us can't kick up this conversation, we need you, is different from the president saying, you stop, okay, both of you go and work together. As a mother, I know that pattern of conflict resolution has never worked. Now, we know that the second person in this conflict, the unseen yet very seen hand in this conflict is Minister Nyesom Wike, right? And he needs to stop. All he needs to do is agree in his mind, in his head, that he is no longer governor, that he's done with serving, that there is a new governor. Once Nyesom Wike comes to that realization, all of this stops. He's the problem here. That man is the problem, refusing to admit that there is somebody else. He thinks that, okay, like he always says, he single-handedly did this, single-handedly. We agree, you single-handedly did all of this. But even for parents, when you raise a child and a child gets to a certain level, you need to allow that person become a human being. You need to allow your child become an adult. You can't put him on a leash all the time and be pulling him. Siminalayi Fubara is not a puppy. He's a man. He's a human being, and right now the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, needs to know that he too now is minister of the FCT. He's no longer governor. He should stop meddling in the affairs of the state to the point that it creates tension in the state. He's been told that, I think that he should also decide what party he belongs in, because maybe it will help him focus as well. Because now being in we don't know how many parties, legs spread out everywhere. We don't know where he belongs, but at least Sim has been clear. Sim has also gone to collect, because the things creating these distractions, it was very
distractions indeed. Distractions indeed, Hilda.
To APC, and then that they give him a card is a problem for you to call a press conference.
Now, just a second, Hilda. Hilda, I'd like to bring in a legal expert, and this time it's Chigozie Nwachukwu, his state organizing secretary, PDP, Imo State, 2023 to 24. You're welcome, Barrister. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to take a look at due process here. Many people argue that the impeachment is weaponized, is manipulated, and I'm wondering exactly what minimum requirements does the House need to make this impeachment process a legal one? Barrister?
Basically, impeachment is a legal process. It's a process that is controlled and outlined by law. And it is, in the case of a governor, it's in Section 188 of the Constitution, as amended, 1999 Constitution as amended. And what is needed is just 1/3 of the House voting that, 1/3 of the House voting that they should issue an impeachment notice. Then they ask the chief judge to set up a panel, 7-man panel, and after that, if the panel finds that there is a merit in the allegation, in the outlined infractions, then it moves back to the House, where they now need a 2/3 vote. You see, this issue should not be, I want to speak legally about it. My take on this issue is that if just remove all the politics, yes, will be the foundation of all these problems. But my take on it is that, one, what the House has outlined, are there merits in it? This process, if it goes on, because if what the House has outlined has no merits in it, of course, the 7-man panel, it's a legal process. It's not something that is given to sentiments. The governor has gone to get an injunction from the High Court on ex parte application yesterday to stop the chief judge from setting up the panel, just like a repeat of what we saw in Ondo State a while ago, some years ago, with the current governor, when there was an impeachment notice issued against him. An order was given by the court which stopped the chief judge from proceeding with setting up that panel. My take is that if the governor thinks that what the House is saying, that there is no legal infraction, then he has nothing to fear. He has nothing to fear. Oh. Because it's a pure legal process. If he has not contravened
so to confirm, you're saying that the House is outlined. So Barrister Nwachukwu, you're saying, to confirm now, you're saying that the House is within its right. The processes that they are taking are correct. Is that what you're saying? Please confirm.
Of course.
Okay.
The House is a legislative process. The House was not set up there to be. It is one of the provisions of the Constitution. It's one of their legal duties that if they think a governor, because the governor, the oath of office is swearing to abide, obey the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One of the duties of the House of Assembly is that if a governor contravenes any section of that oath that he has taken, That is why you have what you call checks and balances
So
in governance.
has the governor
That's why the legislature is like a check on the executive.
So has the governor fallen, Barrister?
If they have,
Barrister, I'm sorry to break it.
If they think that the governor has contravened a section of the oath that he took, which is the ground of the Constitution, why not? It's within their rights. It's constitutional. They've not done anything that is outward. Governors have been impeached before now.
So,
And
Barrister, are you saying that the governor has fallen?
Outward, it's a legal process. The governor also has his rights.
Barrister,
Like
just a second, Barrister.
They've gone to court and all that. So
just a second, Barrister.
It's the constitutional right of the House.
Just a second, Barrister. Are you saying that the governor has fallen short in his bid to respond to the House? So are we putting this on the governor now and not the House, since you say the House is actually within its right and due process is being followed? So where does the ball fall? Is it in the court of the governor? Is he the one to blame now for not providing a response and in due time, or even committing to dialogue?
Well, for me, like I said, I want to concern myself basically with the legal dictates of this process, with the things that have to do with the political shenanigans that are going on behind the scene, where the governor is supposed to talk to anybody or not talk to anybody. I don't want to concern myself with that business. That is for they to deal with.
Just a second then, Barrister. Let me go back to Hilda.
I am not prejudging the governor, no.
All right, just a second.
I don't want to prejudge the governor because the governor, I don't know what has really happened behind the scene. I don't want to comment on things I cannot verify or confirm. Whether the governor is right or the House is right, this thing is a legal process. If there are things that the governor has done wrong and the House thinks so, they put it out. And if the governor thinks what the House is doing is legally wrong, he's within his rights to challenge it. So I don't want to get into what happened behind the scenes, who is supposed to talk to, who is not supposed to talk to. The governor knows the oath he swore to, and he knows when he has contravened it. He should have commissioners and advisors on legal matters who should advise him on such issues. So for me, I'm not prejudging the governor, I'm not prejudging the House. I'm following it purely on the legal standpoint of this issue, and that is that impeachment of governors is a legal process, which the House has commenced. It doesn't end with them. The Chief Judge has a duty. They've also gone to court. And moreover, this is now a legal process. I can't even, the extent of this matter, I shouldn't even get into, because it is now subject to legal proceedings. So as a lawyer, there are things I can't even get into. That's why I'm confining myself to talking about the preliminary legal issues that have to do with its constitutionality. That is why I want to confine myself.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Chikuze Nwachukwu. Hilda, now you've just heard from the legal practitioner here regarding how the governor should conduct himself. It should actually be a case of him submitting himself to the House, because these are legal proceedings. I don't know what take you have on that.
Well, like he said, he's a lawyer. He's only going to concern himself with the legal angle to it. And then I want to just say to him that in this country, we have listened and watched Justice Omotosho turn the law upside down and give judgments that even the Constitution gets a code out of what is given. We have also sat down in this country and watched the Supreme Court rule on issues that were not before them. So if anybody is worried, he's a lawyer, that's where he works, so it won't matter for him. But if people like me worry about the judiciary and judicial process right now in the country, we have every reason to, because of the things that we have seen, right? Now, saying it's a legal process, of course it is a legal process. Everybody knows that. If it wasn't, then what was the point for all the official oath taking that everyone does, when they're given any office of that magnitude? So yes, it may be that, but I do not, as Hilda, I do not think that the governor should subject himself to this kinds of, well, I don't know what they call it legally. He's the lawyer there. But I don't see what the governor has done. And this is going by the reasons that they gave, that we read, they said because he did not present the appropriation bill. Now, they forget that Abbas had presented it, and people like us had raised queries about why our money, the Supreme Court had ruled and said our money should not be given to anybody. Now our money was being given to Abbas. Some of us questioned it. People went to court over that. And then at the end of the day, what happened? Again, the same court did what it wanted to do, and they gave Abbas our money. Now that's appropriation or budget or whatever name they like to call it now was for 1 year. That 1 year will expire in July. So whatever we have now is supposed to run till July. If the president, if the governor now needs to present another, which would be a supplementary. The question would be, does he need a supplementary? What would he need a supplementary for? Because the one that was passed by the National Assembly and handed over to Abbas, for which we had that shameful 600 billion, whatever it is, being the reason why people were coming to our states and all of that, is there. That money is there. The man is still doing his work with that money. So when it is time for supplementary, it will come. But for supplementary to be done based off of the fact that the State Assembly says their interest, I'd like to know what that interest is, that their interest was not considered. What is their interest? What exactly is their interest? Their interest is to create policies, right? So what does that do? Let's not even go there, see, because now crazy worry all these people.
Okay, then hear that.
The truth is, the reasons that they have given, are they true? No, they are not. Can the courts hold and rule justly? We are not sure.
I would like us to talk about that. I would like us to talk about that, the court. The fact that the court has been dragged in as an instrument for political interest here worries me, and I'm sure worries a lot of people as well. While we have Barrister Nwachukwu here, let's ask. Barrister, the Chief Judge has now been drawn into the process. How do we protect the judicial system from being perceived as an extension of political interests now? Because it seems for every issue, for every political matter, for every election, it's the courts that seems to settle it. But how can we protect it from being seen as an extension, especially in this case where you have such big political names that extend all the way to the presidency? How do we protect it from being seen as a political instrument itself?
I would like to comment briefly on something that
Hilda,
the Rivers Labour Party chairman has talked about. She talked about Justice Omoto Shaw and the Supreme Court having ruled on issues not before them and all that. I don't think so. I was in the Supreme Court. The judgment of Rivers was handed. I had another matter there. And if you read those judgments, I've read those judgments. You know, the law is sometimes very intricate. And when people don't follow it legally, you will think that you've been hard done. I want to correct that impression. They should go and ask questions on what exactly happened. Some things went wrong with the legal team of the governor. The legal team of the governor made some fundamental elementary mistakes that led to some of the things that went wrong in that case. But let me leave that and go to what you've asked. The judiciary ordinarily is supposed to have some form of independence, but we cannot shy away from the process that brings up judges for appointment. You have what you call National Judicial Commissions and then the State Judicial Commissions. They nominate persons, and it is the governors that now send these names. It is the government that sends these names to the National Judicial Council for screening and confirmation. One way, if we want to be serious with this process, is that the judiciary should be extricated. One, in terms of the process of appointment. Two, in terms of funding. Once he pays the piper, dictates the two. Till now, They say the judiciary is independent, but they still wait for their money to come from the executive. They can be on first line charge, whether the executive, like you could see sometimes, you still see judicial workers going on strike against government not paying them what they should pay. Come on. Who pays the piper dictates the tone. Once you're able to extricate their funding from the control of the executive and extricate the process of emergence of judicial officers from being meddled or passed through the executive, that will be some measure. That will be one pathway to getting them off interferences by the executive. As long as their money still comes from the executive without coming directly to them, as long as the appointments are still passed through the executive to get to the National Judicial Council for them to be appointed, there will still be interferences. There have been instances in the past in my state, in Imo, where certain persons of repute, eminently qualified, have been nominated, and some governors refuse to take their name to the National Judicial Council. And there's nothing you can do about it. So that's one way. That's one way of insulating them from any form of interferences. If that could be done by some constitutional amendment, I thought that the lawyers in the National Assembly should have been bothered about such matters. The lawyers in the National Assembly who have been in practice and have seen some of these interferences, this is one of the areas they should have intervened very vigorously and try to extricate the judiciary completely from executive interferences in terms of appointments and funding. Once that is done, I think that will be 50% down the road. They would have been extricated from executive interferences, and that could make them stand on their feet, knowing that whatever they do here, their livelihoods are protected. When you do a good job, you'll be elevated, whether anybody likes it or not. That's my take on that.
The judiciary from the process, and you might have a better result. Now, there is one other matter, however, that I want to ask you that's outside your legal confines, and I'm wondering if you can answer this. How much of what you see currently seems to be a take on, well, overtaking the political structure in Rivers State to the advantage of the next elections?
You're talking about the Rivers State and the next elections politically?
Yes. If you can keep it really short, because we're out of time already.
The Rivers State is now a case study in the electoral dynamics of Nigeria. This is the first time you're having a state where one man is controlling the structure of the two major parties. You have one man who's controlling the structure of APC. He's also the one controlling the structure of the PDP, and both chairmen stand beside him in rallies and his forays around the local governments. It's a very interesting scenario. The truth of the matter is that what has changed, what has altered the dynamics of the Rivers 2027 governorship politics, and probably which will trickle down to other positions, is the entry of Fubara into APC. That is what has caused all these problems, because with his entry into the APC, it gives him some measure of leverage, because now he's a member of the APC Governors Forum, and he's a member of the ruling party, so he now attends certain meetings ordinarily before, where he wasn't attending, and is able to talk to certain leaders of government and the party who are members of his party now, where Wike used to hold sway before now. In Rivers is going to be very interesting. I see a photo finish that is unexpected happening in Rivers governorship election. I see a photo finish that is unexpected.
We are out of time.
That they have this thing now. They may be shocked at the end of the day.
Barrister, we are out of time, but I really want to get Hilda's final take. I'm wondering why she is laughing. She's been laughing since you've been talking. Hilda, really quick, we only have just a minute. What's that gesture we see?
You know what he had said, he was not going to comment on politics, and I was wondering.
It surprised me too.
He will remove his beep very soon, and he just removed the beep. And that's why I've been laughing. You see, we have not only become a case study, we have also become a laughing stock for the rest of the country. There is a twist in the script. The twist in the script is Fubara in APC. and what the APC position will eventually be. And then, you know, everybody else in the state. See, if it's organic love, right? Organic love, one-on-one, no rigging, Fubara will win his election, neat and clean. Because that's how Rivers people are. They can just not stand injustice and intimidation. For that reason, we will all stand behind Governor Fubara, because we did it for Wike when he was governor, and he had that tussle with Amechi. Rivers people stood with him, not necessarily because of anything, other than the fact that we felt like, Amechi, you don't finish, they go. We allow Wike to do his work. And it's the same thing we're saying to Wike now. Oga, they go, allow Fubara to do his work. So if we're going to go very organic, Fubara will win his election neat and clean. But that, again, is in the hands of APC. If APC decides that during their primaries, their candidate for Rivers State election will be Governor Fubara, then that's it. So, Wachuku, thanks for removing your bib. You gave me an opportunity to laugh this morning. Thank you very much.
Indeed, you did.
And,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hilda. It was a very exciting conversation here. And of course, Barrister Wachuku, thank you very much for removing your beep. I think I'll ask you more political questions next time instead of legal ones. But I enjoyed that. Thank you indeed. We look forward to having you two back again here on Breakfast Extra next time when we have Rivers State to discuss. Because, I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Thank you once again, and we look forward to having you back.